Welcome back. President Biden seeks to rally support for Ukraine in the fight against Russia's deadly invasion. I'm Kana Whitworth here in Los Angeles with our big story. The president at the United Nations today warning that no country can be secure if the alliance allows Ukraine to be carved up. This as he faces new political battles brewing in Washington. I'll speak with Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar about the war in Ukraine, the impeachment inquiry against the president, and the potential government shutdown now looming. Plus, in our spotlight, Taylor Swift calling on Swifties to register to vote on this National Voter Registration Day as both political parties look to boost turnout in 2024. Is it time for Election Day to become a national holiday? And of course, we start with our big story here. President Biden calling on world leaders at the United Nations to step up support for Ukraine and stand up to Russia. So joining us now is Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar, thank you so much for joining us here this evening.
Thanks,
and first
Dana.
of all, of course, let's get your take on what President Biden had to say today.
Well, President Biden made it very clear. He has been leading our allies from the very beginning, and he's made it very clear that if you just allow Vladimir Putin to march into a sovereign country and do nothing and fold, he's not going to stop. There are so many other Baltic nations on the border with Russia. I was just in the Scandinavian countries. You've got Norway and Finland and Sweden. These countries are well aware of all of the interventions that Russia has tried before in terms of ruining their elections and getting Russian-based candidates to run. And if you just let this happen and don't respond, listen to our European allies. They have put over $40 billion into this because they believe in all kinds of weaponry and training. They are standing with Ukraine, and America is standing with Ukraine. So the point that the president was making today, in addition to President Zelensky's dramatic words where he talked about evil cannot be trusted, and when hatred is weaponized against one country, it never stops there. I believe that there is significant support among Congress and the American people to continue to stand with Ukraine, because the consequences of folding would be unbearable for democracies across the world.
Well, and Senator, let's talk about some of that support here. Some Republican presidential candidates, other Republicans on the Hill are fiercely opposing continued support for Ukraine, especially financially here. The U.S. has already spent tens of billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid. How long can the U.S. keep allocating money towards this conflict when, of course, we're facing major domestic challenges right here at home?
Well, let me be clear. In the U.S. Senate, 86 of 100 senators just voted for the defense bill within the last month. They voted for that bill, and it contained significant support for Ukraine. Why? They did it because they believe in this cause. They know that it could cost us a lot more money if we stand down and let Vladimir Putin invade one country, and then he'll do a NATO nation, and then we'll be right there involved. The Ukrainians are willing to put their lives at risk. They have lost tens of thousands of people. Ballerinas wearing camo, people who their whole homes have been burned out. They've lost their brothers and dads and grandpas. This has all happened. So I believe there is significant support. I know there's issues over in the House, but I don't think people are just going to back down and stop supporting them. And on the domestic side, it is the president that has led the efforts when it comes to getting my bill passed for prescription drug negotiation to bring down costs on people. It is the president that has taken us out of the chaos caused by the insurrection, taking us through that and into a much stronger economy. So let's make that economic argument, because all they're doing over in the House right now is talking about shutdowns and simply trying to get a budget in place. The Senate has been much more collegial and bipartisan when it comes to getting things done. And certainly I will, at any moment, match the results that President Biden has been able to achieve for our country against the rhetoric and game playing and divisiveness of some of these candidates out there on the Republican side, including Donald Trump.
And Senator, I do want to talk to you about Medicare here in just a moment. But first of all, back in the House, sources are telling ABC News that Republicans have scheduled this initial impeachment inquiry hearing for next week, open to the public. This as they investigate the president and his family's business dealings. The president's son, Hunter Biden, as you know, now facing felony charges. Are you and other Democrats concerned at all that this could cause problems as 2024 approaches?
We all know that this alleged inquiry over in the House, I'm not talking about the other investigation, which is being handled by the Justice Department. I'm talking about this inquiry in the House. This is pure politics, and it is playing to their most conservative base, their most MAGA base that has been pushing for this. They can do this if they want to make that the corner piece, where President Biden is going to be able to talk about bringing down the costs of drugs for the people of America, putting a $35 cap on insulin, leading the manufacture of Made in America chips, leading the fact that we are finally doing something about climate change and other things. That is a debate that I'm looking forward to seeing. And I am proud of the work that he has done on so many fronts. He's able to show results. That's what the American people want.
And Senator, let's talk about the efforts here to lower drug prices. Here, the president now allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices for the first time ever. A recent AP NROC poll shows that 76% of Americans actually favor this move. But the pharmaceutical industry is fighting back. They're filing a lawsuit. So what are you and other lawmakers doing to try to preserve these negotiations that so many Americans are hoping for right now?
To be clear, 20 years ago, they got a sweetheart deal, the pharma companies did, built into law. They actually wrote it, got in there and said, hey, Medicare, on behalf of 50 million seniors in America, you can't negotiate anything. You are basically stuck with the high prices we want. As a result, Americans are paying 250% more for prescription drugs than other industrialized nations. What happened with the president's leadership, the help of AARP, this is my bill I've been pushing for forever. We finally got the first 10 drugs. We removed that ban on negotiation, first 10 drugs, and they are blockbuster drugs. Drugs like Januvia on diabetes, drugs like Eliquis and Xarelto for blood clots. All told, nearly 9 million seniors spent $3.4 billion in out-of-pocket costs just last year on these drugs. So what are they doing now? Yeah, they couldn't do it with their 3 lobbyists for every member of Congress. That's how many they have. They couldn't do it with their hundreds of million dollars in ads. They're now turning to the courts, filed multiple lawsuits with high-paid lawyers. We are fighting back. With my colleagues, Senator Welch and I, leading a brief which makes the case that Congress has every right to do this. They're claiming we can't. Are you kidding me? They think they've got protections built into law that says, sorry, Congress, you can't do anything because we're big pharma. No one buys that. They're looking for a rogue judge that'll go their way. I don't think it'll happen, and I know in the end we're going to win. So now we're fighting them in court, but we will get the negotiations going. They're happening right now. Cap is on insulin is in place already. Free pneumonia shots, shingles shots, and the like for our seniors. And then finally, a $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket pharmaceutical costs starting in 2025. Those are all things we got signed into law, and they're not going to take them away from the seniors of this country.